Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this month's AIMS talk, Strategic Doing AIMS talk. AIMS stands for Adaptive and Innovation Management Strategies. As people are coming in, we're going to give it about a minute. As always, please put your name and where you're from in the chat. As always, today's talk will be recorded. The video and the AI summary, chat, all documents that will be presented will be posted in the AIMS open community on the Connects platform. If you are not already a member of this community, please sign up via the link in the chat. So AIMS is an open strategic doing community for leaders in organizations responsible for dealing with major disruptions and complex challenges, such as climate change, technological transformations, and globalization. Such organizations can be described as socio-technical systems dealing with major disruptions and complex challenges. With socio-technical systems requires co-creation of changes in cultural, social, and environmental processes, in addition to the technological changes. Addressing these challenges is a complex and long-term process in which dominant practices need to be replaced, adapted, or invented. Strategic doing is a powerfully effective methodology to use as a framework for this type of change. So my name is Joost Visser. I am co-CEO of Strategic Doing Institute, and I'm joined today by Jack Ricciuto, who is a senior fellow and member of the Strategic Doing leadership team. And halfway through today's program, Jack will be asking us the right question when we break out in small groups at the bottom of the hour. Also joining us today is our colleague Polya, in whose capable hands we are for all things technical and operational for today's talk. Our guest today is Manuel Wexler from AKFI. Welcome, Manuel. I will ask you to introduce yourself and AKFI in a minute. So for those of you who are new to strategic doing, it's an open source discipline to form collaborations quickly, move them toward measurable outcomes, and make adjustments along the way. Our founder, Strategic Doing, started this journey in 1993 with a simple but not easy question: is how can we innovate when no one tells anyone else what to do? So today we will be talking about the complex challenge of the net zero transformation of the automotive industry. In an era of heightened environmental consciousness, sustainability reporting has become sine qua non for businesses worldwide, and the automotive industry, which is a significant contributor to global carbon emissions, is at the forefront of this global revolution. However, a closer look reveals a chasm between the sustainability strategies of car manufacturers and their tire producing counterparts. So today we'll be talking about the unique challenges each sector faces, and the need for alignment to achieve comprehensive sustainability. Over to you, Manuel. Please introduce yourself first, and I look forward to hearing from you about this important topic.
Good morning or good afternoon. I'm happy to join Joost, Polya, Jack, and the people joining us today. I'll start with a brief introduction. I'm pretty engaged with sustainability, both with the IAKFI, which stands for the Actionable Knowledge Foundational Institute, which is it's a industry organization which looks at the, if you want, the horizontal relationship between suppliers and their customers. During my presentation, I'll talk more about this and how this relationship develops as a result of primarily the European Union standards, CSRD, California. And the other, when I have free time, instructor, the lecturer at Cornell for sustainability and AI. Legacy 5G also, I was instructing 5G. I have a couple of certificates from Cornell, Canada, and I'm a graduate I have a master's in medical electronics from Romanian University in Iași. So welcome everybody, and happy to see all of you.
Yeah. So you prepared the presentation for us, Manuel. Please go ahead and start.
I'm asking the powers of Zoom to let me share the screen. Hope you can see it.
Yes.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's on presentation mode. Yes.
So to start, the car and tires are obviously linked by the business. I'll challenge if you can have a car or a truck or a vehicle without tires these days. What I'm going to talk about it is really the challenges this relationship poses through the lens of sustainability, through the perspective of sustainability. Some of the solutions, which include also AKFI solutions, I'll draw some conclusions. I'll try to fit it within 20 minutes. I ran out of superlatives because the complexity is so huge. When we think of the supply chains, they came to forefront, they came to recognize them and their value during the COVID shutdowns. But they're always complex and they get more and more complexity. And sometimes the political systems do not help. They actually raise the complexity of these systems. Uh, what it's important to remember here when you look at the complexity between cars and tires is the fact that data needs to flow now back to the car companies. So it's not enough to order tires according to some specs or delivery conditions or contractual delivery conditions. We are now in the space where data becomes as important in the sustainability reporting frameworks. And talking about regulatory frameworks, we can spend many hours talking about regulations. As you know, and I'm very happy to talk with people in Brussels today because that's the center of power of the European Union. And this is really where standards are being developed. Uh, and we don't have enough time today to dedicate to specifics of the standards. And what I would like to still highlight, the standards are not, they are somewhat overlapping, they are not converging. The European Union is definitely at the forefront with the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, the framework called the CSRD, the Supply Chain Act, and more recently to the AI Act. So definitely Europe and the European Union is at the forefront of sustainability. California is following, and here it's maybe a moment to pause because people said, okay, once Trump was elected as the new and returning president of U.S., sustainability is that, ESG is that. No, that's an incorrect view because federal powers go only so far in the US and state powers kicked in. California, New York, Illinois, I would say in general, the democratic states are actually stepping in and putting sustainability laws. And if you don't want to do business with California, then you lose, the seventh, eighth larger economy in the world. It's not like you don't have the power generate standards and requirements for sustainability. China is coming up. There are many debates, but really China is serious about sustainability, especially environmental sustainability. They did a great job of compromising the environment as they developed economically, and now air quality is one measurement. sustainability is pretty bad, especially during the winter, especially in Beijing. The supply chain regulations are new, so the relationships between the supplier and their customer were always contractual. But the contract was going in one way. I pay you so much money for delivering these goods, tires in this case, on these conditions, physical, quality, delivery points. But now, and almost unexpectedly, I'm also asking you about labor laws, compliance with labor laws, compliance with um, social laws, salaries, and so on, compliance with governance, of course, the amount of carbon footprint involved in your products. So lawyers are busy rewriting the contracts between the suppliers and their customers as a result. In our case today, we're talking about laws between the car manufacturers and the tire manufacturers. And I should have mentioned actually the compliance challenges, the fact that the regulations are really complex and getting more complex. There are a lot of people complaining about the complexity. I think that will be resolved in time.
Yeah.
Maybe they were a little bit
Manuel,
too
are you okay
optimistic.
to take questions during the talk?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have a question from Myra Mihalovic. Can you please ask the question that you raised in the chat?
Yeah, I just had asked if there was a market case without having these regulations for these kind of activities.
Um, yes. And I'll give you the basic case that we don't talk about it. Out of the sustainability factors, especially environmental and social, are inputs to the production, of goods or services. So optimizing the inputs, you don't need the sustainability law to say if you consume less energy, if you consume less water, let's say, if you have better relationships with your employees. These are, let's say, modus operandi of the companies for a long, long time. They always look at reducing the amount of inputs, essentially affecting the gross profit. Less cost on the inputs, same prices on the outputs, you can get a better profit. I don't know if I answered the question or maybe I misunderstood.
No, I think that's I think that perspective is one that's interesting. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you,
also have a
Myra.
question from Scott, but we have two Scotts, so I don't know which Scott asked the question. Scott,
I'm taking questions for both Scots, so
yeah.
whoever wants to go.
So have you supported industry SPV funding like prototype prior to industry-wide adoption?
No, drop that one from me.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, no problem. Please go ahead, Manuel.
Okay, well, thank you. So to continue and sort of to resume the conversation, thank you for the questions, by the way. The regulations maybe something that I didn't put on slides, but something that is important to remind people. These regulations are actually in a category of what's called double materiality. So they become part of the reporting of the risks and rewards of the system, profit and loss. So all these regulations are not separated from the financial operation of a company because they measure risks. To be continued, and hopefully we'll continue with questions in this area. What are the critical misalignments and challenges? So we talk a lot about divergence in terms of regulations in the world. There are, I don't know how many, I lost count of how many ESG reporting standards and agencies and software products. Uh, there is a challenge because sustainability is a long term, and all the reporting, all the financial reporting, all the activities are quarterly or yearly, annually based. And this difference really puts a lot of economic pressure on sustainability. They say, well, we're losing money. No, but if you're programmed to, let's say, do a better mining project, requires 3 years to come up with more sustainable mining. In the first year, it will look a cost on your financial sheet. The next year will look again a cost. The third year, maybe it will start to break even. So we have to consider the long term of strategies for sustainability. I'll talk about technological, and we talked already about regulatory compliance. So let's be more specific. If we go into the sustainability gap in the supply chain, if you look at the Venn diagram on the right, they start for very different requirements. Cars and car manufacturers are trying to reduce the emission and move to electric vehicles, with some more successful than others. Tire company are mostly considering the environment, especially the use and tear and the disposal of tires as being a priority. They are very hard to recycle, very carbon intensive in production. So they share the same vision, if you want, of reducing the carbon footprint, getting better social programs, being more transparent in the supply chain. However, the differences are probably larger than the points of commonality or the two are joining. Why it's a need to align them? Well, if you're, let's take a very simple example. If you are really a car manufacturer and you have to account for scope 3 carbon, you have to actually help the tire manufacturers to reduce the scope 3, because most of it is not under your control. It's under the control of your supply chain. And this is repeating every time for every industry, if we look from that perspective. So we talked about the divergent path in cars and tire sustainability, and we stop here for the moment, and I'm sure Jack will be interested to talk more after we finish the presentation. The collaboration roadblocks, and these roadblocks are going through people, we blame computers, we blame processes, we blame executives, but at the end, people have a lot of decision power, especially in free enterprises. And the collaborative efforts have to be there if we want really to have any successful sustainability program. From challenges to solutions. I'm sure that on top of mind, the digital transformation and the latest instance of AI plays a big role. I have good news. It's mandatory, it's necessary. If your company is not moving to digital, you don't have data, you don't know where data is or what quality is. There are innovations happening, such as Internet of Things, like sensors in the tires, not only to tell you that the inflation is correct, but how much wear and tear, when you have to change them. You can track them, talking in the European Union about product passports. And they still, there is still a lot of work to be done. And again, in the interest of time, I'll not deep dive into Internet of Things, what we can do. I think we need to mention the AI integration with data. But here is the dirty secret, if you want, of AI. If you don't have good quality data, if you don't know where your data is, if your suppliers don't deliver the data or the data quality you expect, then AI doesn't work. Yeah, it's an analytical engine at the end. You know, it's very fancy, talks to you, but talks only based on the data you give. And if you don't have data, don't try AI because you get interesting hallucinations. So that's a topic for a coffee discussion whenever I can join you guys in Brussels. Moving to solutions, AKFI, it's at the forefront. One word that is not so much talked about, it is the transdisciplinary. So we talk about single disciplines. You know, I'm an engineer in this field, in this subfield, in this subfield, or I'm a surgeon, you know, specialized in the left eye cataract and so on. But then we talk about multidisciplinary. We say, well, get around the table, in case of AKFI, multiple disciplines, and let them sort out the things. Well, they cannot communicate. Yeah, they speak English. They speak the same language, but they don't reach the communication level because we are so compartmentalized. We are so vertically integrated in our specialties. So we need to develop students, we need to develop disciplines where people can communicate across the disciplines. You know, if you talk like an economist for 10 hours, I bet you the marketing people will not pick up a lot. I've been in some of these meetings. So what we are in AKFI, we're an industry association. We look at this horizontal relationship between the supply chain and their customers. Strategic doing, and thank you for hosting me today, Houston, Jack. The strategic doing involves where are we and where are we going. This is my understanding. This is if you want, should be a daily test to know and make sure you keep on your roadmap. And like I mentioned about transdisciplinary, it encourages the strategies to maximize the impact through linking people together and creating opportunities for adaptive management and collaborations. So we are definitely aligned between strategic doing and AKFI in the way we see addressing and solving and progressing on the sustainability. A few solutions for bridging the gap. Really prioritizing. Back to the question I received today. If you ask me on a statistic, how many students are asking me about sustainability, 90% are saying, how can I make sustainability profitable? Because this is one way of measuring. How do you do that? Well, standardize. You develop best practices. This is not something related to sustainability. If we all have standards in the industries, we all have, each city will have its own plug for plugging, you know, your appliance in the wall to draw electricity. Sustainability is strategy. It's not only reporting. Unfortunately, we got to focus on reporting because the way companies operate, but reporting, it's about the past. Challenge anybody to report about the future and, you know, 2 years later to be proven 100% right. We talked about the open communications and to facilitate the collection of technology and data. And you know, sticking together is the only message I can leave you with today, the most powerful message. If we don't get together, we if we don't really look at meaningful change toward a sustainable future, and I don't mean it in purely emotional terms. This is called business logic. If we don't do it, we will, diminish the amount of GDP, will diminish the amount of quality of life for the people on this planet. This is not, an emotional call. This is a really call on achieving a shared goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. Before we go to the breakout question with Jack, there's two more questions in the chat. First, I want to ask Stephen Moskovich. You had a question, and then I'll ask Charles Klassen. Stephen.
Yeah. So just actually, well, two questions. So I think a lot of you talked about was misalignment around strategy, but the way you dove in, it really becomes a misalignment around data. So do you view this as a data problem or a strategy problem in terms of how you're approaching this?
Yeah, I see it as a historical because these industries never came together. My proposal, or the reality is, data can bring them much closer together. To answer directly the question, it's saying it's not. When I say strategy, I'm saying, well, we develop strategies looking at the future. It's more a matter of facts. They develop in different directions in sustainability because were in isolation. We need to bring them together. And yes, data will be the unifier. I don't see it as a strategic intent misalignment, right? Because in strategy you have intent.
Right.
No, it's not an intent. It's a historical fact in my mind.
Okay. And then the other part of that, and maybe
we need to fix it. We need to fix it, and we can fix it with data.
Right. On the data side, are you working with Catena X at all in terms of how they're working on the data platform?
Actually, we are an industry association, so we'll be glad to have sponsors and discussions. If you can drop a line,
Yep.
I think you can provide my email address.
Yeah, I'll send you some work details about what they're doing.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward.
Yeah.
Put the address in my. Let me put my address also in the Zoom chat.
Okay.
And maybe I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. Okay. One more question, Charles. Please go ahead. Keep it short before we go to the breakouts.
Okay. Thank you so much, Manuel, for sharing with us. My questions are really focused on the change in U.S. administration and deregulation initiatives that they're threatening, along with increased tariffs, and a wonderment around, can business alignment and support drive green initiatives globally if we don't have the political will to actually make the hard choices and fund these initiatives?
I don't think we ever had the political will. I think there are nuances more than changes in direction. We had a lot of political talk about it, but I think the European Union was the first one to act. And to act legally, maybe I'm jaded in my comment. But politicians have changed anything by fiat or by an order. The politician who was just elected in the US says, I'm going to build 5 new nuclear reactors to solve the energy problem in the US. How many years it will take? 10. The term of the president is 4. Oops. You see my point? So politicians, because the media, because they amplifies their messages, we think that their messages are cast in stone. They are not. they are changing. There are other forces that are not political. There are economic forces, social forces that are equally or even more powerful. Democratic countries, eventually the social force acts like a pendulum, you know. Look at Europe, look at France, look at Germany. So my answer is politicians have a much larger share of mind that they can really do the change they claim they can do.
Hmm. Okay, thank you, Manuel. And this was a very interesting speech. I'm sure, Jack, you will can set us up with some interest with an interesting question about this.
Well, yes. Thank you, Manuel. There's so many directions we could take this, but here's what I want to suggest. Polya, if we can get 4 groups of 4, we might have a group of 5, which is fine. And here's the question. So in strategic doing, it's really important to get the invitations to the first gathering right. Okay, from a social architecture point of view. And so my question when we look at the sustainability question relative to car and tire manufacturing and their supplier ecosystems, I can't use the word supply chain because it's mechanistic rather than organic, and we're not into that. But when we look at the car manufacturing, tire, and their supply ecosystems, what are the upsides of a first gathering, right, of folks in this space? What are the upsides of a global gathering, a gathering of people globally, and just another gathering versus another gathering, which is specifically national? Okay, and this could vary by nation, but what are the advantages of a global approach to start with? Or what might be the advantage of a national, which is a different scope of invitation, right? So this is a way to parse out what Manuel has given us to bring together all those threads that he gave us so generously today, right? So the question is, what are the advantages of a pro-global approach, an invitation to people globally? And what are the advantages of the opposite, which is an invitation to people nationally, of just one nation, like the U.S. or Belgium or France or China or whatever? Okay, global versus national. So we're going to take about 15 minutes. Polya will have you in your correct small groups. And we'll see you back in 15 minutes. And this is just a brainstorm. You don't have to, there's no consensus building here. We're not after consensus, we're after diversity of perspective. Okay, so feel free not to debate anything, but to diverge into as many different possibilities as you can. The advantages of global versus national. Okay. Thanks for getting that little conversation started. Joost, I want to turn it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. So I think we had some very interesting conversations, or at least in our group. We have 10 minutes left, so this is part of our usual sort of next steps conversation. So, but please share any of the conversations you had in the chat. We will be posting the chat in the AIMS community. So that's a way to share some of the discussions that people have had. In our group we spoke about the ingenuity gap, and this is always the introduction to the last section of our Monday talks and also our Friday talks. Is why are we doing this? Why are we organizing these talks as the Strategic Doing Institute? And this is related to the ingenuity gap that was identified by Thomas Homer Dixon in early 2000s. when he stated that the nature of problems faced by our society are becoming more complex and our ability to implement solutions is not keeping pace. So our approach to dealing with these complex challenges is actually needs to change. We need to move from a top-down approach to a more collaborative approach. And the framing question of strategic doing is, imagine we could change the way the world collaborates. What would that look like? And our insight is that we can do this, but we need to build a global movement of practitioners that understand, that can apply the process and that have the skills to actually implement these processes. And that's why we are doing these talks, because we need lots and lots of practitioners. And what's great, we always have people that are well on their way to become practitioners, to become fellows understood in these calls, but also a lot of new people that are joining us. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to share my screen and just list the different next steps that we would like to invite you to take. So what is really important in growing this community is building the community. So a lot of you are already doing, and please keep doing it. Bring a friend, bring a colleague. If you think strategic doing is relevant for some of the challenges that you are confronted with, or that other people are sharing with you, please introduce us to your colleagues. So closing the triangle in strategic doing languages. What is also very important for us is to support us on social media, LinkedIn in particular. Follow the strategic doing page. Every talk that we do is posted on LinkedIn. Click if you want to join, even if you already have the invitation in your calendar. And join the strategic doing community. So today we're talking about the adaptive and innovation management strategies. We have 3 other challenge-centric communities. One is focusing on innovation ecosystems. One is focusing on flourishing communities, and the other area is how can we future-proof our universities in their role for learning, engagement, and discovery. So university transformation is an important part. Next Monday, we will be talking, around challenges around university transformation. But for each of these challenge areas, we have communities on the platform. They are free to join. Polya will be posting links, sign-up links in the community. And if you're in these communities, please update your personal profile. These breakout sessions that we do in our talks are a good way to get to know each other. But if you complete your profile on the platform, it makes it easier for people to identify other individuals that could be interested to connect with, to have a conversation with. So the more people know, the easier it is to make these connections. Part of our mission as Strategic Doing Institute is to train people about the process and the skills. We do that in half-day training sessions, so getting the essentials of strategic doing. The next one will be in the new year, will be on January the 9th. You can sign up using the link in the chat. If you want to become a practitioner, we have a 2.5-day program that takes you through the process. And Manuel highlighted it starts with 2 questions: where are we going and how will we get there? Which then leads to further questions about what can we do, what will we do, what should we do, when are we gonna come back together, but also focusing on what the cognitive skills are that enable you to do this process effectively and efficiently. We will also be launching other programs. One of them is the Right Questions course, and since we have Jack in this session, Jack, can you please share with us what you will be covering in this course in Q1 of 2025?
Yeah, so this is, we're talking about why flourishing communities flourish because of their questions, how to form right questions in the strategic doing process, and how to use that to create alignment, leveraging, and linking in strategic doing.
Thank you, Jack. So thank you, Manuel, for your presentation. I'm sure that well, you've put your details in the chat. So and of course you are also on the platform. So I'm sure this will lead to many follow-up conversations. Thank you, Jack, for your for your support. Thank you, Polya, for making sure that we you know that everything works. And thank you all for participating. And look forward to having follow-up conversations with everyone. Have a nice rest of your day. Have a nice Thanksgiving week. Bye-bye.
Bye, Joost. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye now.